Olha, se tem uma coisa que não estamos é no controle, não é mesmo? Tô tentando fazer esse vídeo aqui e já me deu ataque de espirreira, o microfone não funciona, fiz o vídeo todo pensando que estava gravando no Zoom e não gravou. Então vou tentar fazer esse vídeo, vou fazer esse vídeo de uma forma assim, ó, short and sweet, straight to the point, ok? I decided to talk about although, even though, in spite of, despite, and also however. Are you with me? So let's get started. Well, although, even though, I'll leave a translation here for you. They work the same way, right? They operate similarly. After although, even though, you need to have a clause. What does that mean? You will need a subject, verb, and object. Yeah, you need a clause with a full idea. Let's think of the sentence. I made a good presentation, but I forgot to recap. Okay? I made a good presentation, but I forgot to recap. If we have to rephrase the sentence, if we need to transform the sentence by using the expression although, I would say something like, although I made a good presentation, I forgot to recap. Or even though I made a good presentation, I forgot to recap. Okay? So you can also use although in the middle of the sentence. It would be something like, I made a good presentation, although I forgot to recap. Okay? Now, let's take a look at despite and in spite of. The translation is here. They work differently and they present three different possibilities, despite and in spite of. By the way, despite is always alone. You don't say despite of, it's just despite. Yeah? So, they can be followed by a verb in the ing form, or it can also be a noun or noun phrase, or also the expression, the fact that, plus a clause, okay? The example, I made a good presentation, but I forgot to recap. Using an ing possibility, yeah, verb in the ing, it would be something like, despite forgetting to recap, I made a good presentation, okay? This is using verb plus ing. If I want to use a noun or noun phrase, it would be something like, despite my lack of recapping, I made a good presentation. And using the expression, the fact that, despite the fact that I forgot to recap, I made a good presentation. You see that in this last case, when you use despite the fact that, the construction is quite similar. It's the same as the one we have with although, only if you use the expression, the fact that, okay? So that's what I tell my students. When you have to work on sentence transformation, it's highly important to revise and to have in mind suffixes, prefixes, so that you can be an even more independent, autonomous student, okay? And finally, we have to talk about however. However is always in the second sentence, okay? So it would be something like, I made a good presentation, however, I forgot to recap, yeah? You could also use however between the subject and the verb. I made a good presentation, I, however, forgot to recap. Also, at the end of the sentence, I made a good presentation, I forgot to recap, however. All right? So, I don't mean to forget to recap a thing. So in this video we talked about although, even though, despite and in spite of, and also however. I hope this video has been useful for you. And if you know anyone who's struggling using those words, share this video with them, okay? Thank you very much. I'll see you around. Bye-bye.